So we're going to be checking out British people visiting America. Should be an interesting video to check out because obviously that's what I want to do. As a British person, I want to visit America. So yeah, we're going to just jump straight into it. Just before we do that, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button. It massively helps out the channel we're going. But let's just press play.
Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to travel.
Right, let's get into it.
Specifically, travel between the two countries. And today, in what is the start of a two-part series, I will be giving my British subscribers some advice on what to know before travelling to the United States.
I need the advice.
And I know what you're thinking.
I need the advice.
Lawrence, I thought you didn't like giving unsolicited advice. And I don't. My team are making me do this because I'm a British and American citizen and therefore some sort of expert. And so since I have visited both countries on 4 billion different occasions, I suppose I might as well tell you what I've learned. And if you're watching this video and thinking, who the heck is this guy? That probably means you're not subscribed to this channel. So I've just got 2 words for you. Do that now. That's 3 words. In the meantime, here are 7 things that British people ought to know before visiting the United States.
Right, I'm interested.
One thing that I'll
security.
never get used to is being touched up and down by people in rubber gloves. And this is especially true in airports. And that, unfortunately, was the best way we could think of to segue into airport security. And don't get me wrong, nobody in either country likes the drudgery of having to haul your suitcase onto a conveyor belt only for a stranger to open it up and reveal to the world your collection of tubes.
Dear God.
I'm talking about my camera equipment, you dirty little... But pound for pound, I'd say that this process is a little less stressful in Britain. You see, it's often noted that American airport security is little more than theatre. And I don't mean that all of the agents start singing Jesus Christ Superstar. I mean that it's all for show. Take off your shoes.
Is it?
Why? Are you inviting me into your house? Make sure all of your electronics are in a separate tray. People think it's easy being a YouTube sensation.
Alright.
And then when you're done with all of that, make sure you pull your trousers back up after they fell down because you removed your belt. To be fair, that happened to me in British airports too. And then there's American immigration officers who sternly ask you questions like, what is the nature of this visit? What's your mother's maiden name? What's in the box? That was Brad Pitt in 7. My advice...
Wait, is it really like this in airports? I don't know whether to believe him or not. Is it like that? Is it easier to go through a UK airport than it is to go through an American airport? Obviously, I've not been to an American airport. So yeah, definitely let me know in the comments.
to you there is don't panic unless you're Gwyneth Paltrow. Again, it's theatre. Speak calmly, truthfully, and don't forget to project! Not that kind of theatre.
Okay.
People say to me, Lawrence, I want to visit America, and when I'm there, I want to see New York City, the Grand Canyon, Niagara Falls for some reason, Texas, like the whole state, and then Disney World. Well, I've got news for you. Unless you plan to be here for 6 months...
I learned very quickly, I think before I even made this channel, that America is a very big place, and you ain't going to get all around it in one go. You have to make multiple trips going on different holidays if you want to visit all the different places. And even then, you're probably still going to struggle with visiting everywhere. If there's people in Britain that believe that, they probably never really looked at America.
Or you own a time machine, that's not going to happen. Because that would be like 10,000 miles of journey time. So when visiting the United States, it's a good idea to pick one kind of micro-region. Then once you've got that down, figure out how you're going to get around. After all, I'm sure you've heard me mention before that America isn't as good as Britain when it comes to trains, buses and broomsticks. Depending on where you are in the country, your best bet is probably to rent a car. Then
I'd rent a car
you'll have
anyway.
to contend with driving on the opposite side of the road, operating a larger vehicle than you're used to, and having no idea what some of the road signs mean. Either way, it's important to figure out all of this before visiting the United States so that you don't end up stranded on the interstate thumbing down vehicles like it's the 70s. I mean, that's how I met Chainsaw Jim, and I no longer have a shed.
Oh, okay.
In this 21st century world, there's a good chance that when you visit America, you'll be bringing with you a little something called electronics. This might be a laptop computer, a mobile phone, or other things that vibrate. Either way, at some
Of course,
point,
a
there's a good
mobile
chance that
phone.
you're going to need to insert it
Dear God.
into a plug socket. And here's the thing, on either side of the pond, plug sockets look different. How do I know this? Because I did a video all about it, and I've lived in both countries. Basically, American plug sockets are completely and utterly a little bit smaller than British ones. Additionally, while most of them do have 3 holes, some only have 2, and I'm still talking about plug sockets. Why am I telling you all of this? Well, because your British plug sockets will not fit into those holes. And you might be thinking, oh no, what am I going to do? How do I edit my videos while on holiday? If you're a content creator. If you're not, then just ignore that.
I'm just thinking nowadays, everything is like USB. So my phone is USB, my laptop is USB. So could you not just buy the actual plug and change it over? Because in the UK, yeah, obviously it's going to be the 3-pin plug. But I've not travelled to America before, but I'm just thinking, can I not just buy a USB plug and then plug my lead into that? Would that work? I would think that would work though. Let me know in the comments if you tried just using a different plug and if that works between the UK and America.
That example. The point is, just like in your year 9 chemistry classes, there is a solution. That solution is a converter that you plug into your plug like that, and then that bit goes into the wall, and then you get the American electricity-ness. And now you might be asking, where can we get these, Lawrence? And the answer is simple.
Airports.
On the World Wide Internet Web.
Amazon.
And on that subject, the World Wide Internet Web is where 1/3 of Americans like to do their shopping. On the subject of purchases, there's one...
Before we even get into this, this is one that's going to confuse me. I know if I go to America, I'm going to walk into a shop, I'm going to say, okay, I want to spend $10. Or I want to spend $15. But then when I get to the end, I don't know what it's going to be. As a British person, what confuses me more is that it's different in different states. So yeah, how do you budget? How do you budget when you go to a shop? If you say, okay, I only want to spend $10, then you have to add it up as you go along, like including the extra part for the tax. That just seems really complicated when you're trying to budget and stick to a certain amount. But yeah, this is definitely something that's going to confuse me when I go to America.
Major difference between shopping in the UK and shopping in the United States. In the UK, you'll be used to walking through the shopping aisles and thinking, look at the price of that meat. It includes value-added tax. Isn't that amazing? Nobody actually does that. But that was my way of illustrating that in Britain, the price you see on the price tag is the price that you pay at the till. In America, which is still in this direction, this is not the case. In fact, the reason that I include this is that I discovered it as a visitor myself. During a visit to Portland, not the weird one, but the one in Maine, I bought a Beatles album because it's just something I do on every continent. And I was fairly happy to find that, oh, look at this. It's under $10. That is a bargain. So I take it up to the till, pull out a big $10 bill, not that big, all the cash is the same size, and say, here you go, have a bit of that, until she rings it up. And it says $11.57. All right, I'll pull out some coins. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, but it is a bit of a surprise when you first do it. One thing that stands out to me about people that visit the United States is that we do tend to visit the tourist hotspots. And this makes sense because they're tourist hotspots.
Yeah.
They have the things you need, like entertainment,
Las
shops.
Vegas.
But we often forget that there are some lesser visited places that are also worthy of your time. Like, for example, Mackinac Island, which is not pronounced Mackinac Island. Or, instead of Orlando, Florida, check out St. Augustine, Florida. Said to be the oldest city in the United States and home to old Spanish architecture. Whatever it is, if you want to see America, don't be afraid to be a contrarian. It's okay to tell your friends back home, no, I didn't go to Las Vegas. We spent a week in Asheville, North Carolina.
That's beautiful,
which is probably where the conversation will end, but you'll have had good memories. Most people are probably aware that the United States has a tipping culture, much to the annoyance of cows. But that tipping culture also extends to restaurants and bars. And British people, for whom tipping isn't a requirement back home, are often confused about how much they should tip. Well, in a sit-down restaurant where servers come to your table, it is recommended that you tip between 15 and 20% of the bill. So if the bill reads...
I must admit, I was confused. What do I tip? How much do I have to give? So yeah, this is good. I'm enjoying this.
$75, then you add on
$11.25 to $15.
$11.25 to $15. Lawrence, would you do this at Burger King? And the answer is no, because I don't go in Burger King. But if I did, the answer would still be no, because fast food restaurants don't expect you to. I hope.
Okay.
Otherwise, I've been a complete for the last 16 years. And for a beer at a bar, it's a good rule of thumb to tip between $1 and $2. Just don't get so drunk that you forget this step, like I did 12 years ago at the Doubletree in Westminster, Colorado. And finally, something that I've benefited from, both as a visitor and a resident of the United States, is this. Some Americans incorrectly assume that I'm smart just because of my accent. And what I'm saying to you is, use that to your advantage.
Okay.
In fact, this is especially true if you do visit the places that aren't necessarily tourist hotspots. You see, in major cities like New York or Chicago, a British accent is a dime a dozen, to the extent that nobody really asks me about my accent here. But back when I lived in Indiana, they treated me like royalty. But if you come here and say words like tomato, banana, water, Americans will absolutely love you or think you have a weird diet. Either way, your accent alone is a good icebreaker if you're the sort of person who likes to be talked at. And if you're not, then don't talk.
Interesting.
I suppose a bonus piece of advice would be just have fun. America is a very surprising country with very surprising people. In fact, in part 2 of this series, I will be advising some of those people on what to know before visiting Britain. So click my bell if you'd like to be notified of that.
Interesting video. A few things that I already knew. Really enjoyed it. If you enjoyed the reaction, please do hit the like button, and I'd really appreciate if you could hit the subscribe button. It massively helps out the channel we're going. But for now, I'll see you on the next reaction.